if we just had an ISO on the line of scrimmage and we cleared out everything else and we just watched Clemson's offensive line against Miami's D line and vice versa, do you think we would get a pretty good indication of how this game went? Because I do. I think that the game was won by Clemson at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
I agree. It's just, I mean, their D-line versus our O-line isn't even up for discussion. But our defensive line, I think we did make some plays, but not nearly enough. And I could definitely agree with them wholesale kicking our butt on one side. The other side, I think we put up a fight, but still didn't make enough plays as far as our D-line versus their O-line. But you are correct. They won the line of scrimmage.
It's not very often that you face a quarterback 4 times, but that's going to be the deal when Pitt comes to town. And Kenny Pickett, of course, he was the one that got his first career start. It was coming off a Virginia Tech game in which he was forced into action because of an injury the week before, and he played really well against Virginia Tech in Blacksburg the week before. Then he comes in as a first full-time starter for the first time as a freshman at Heinz Field, of course, against 10-0 Miami, and that's the first time you and anybody else, we got a look at Kenny Pickett, and he was a really good game manager in that game. He moved around just enough, made the throws, didn't light it up for 400 yards, but made the throws, and ever since he's been the Pitt starting quarterback. So once again, after Miami's beaten him a couple times, he comes back to Miami for a 4th go-around. And you know, I saw it in the chat here, and I get it maybe from a talent standpoint that somebody mentioned, okay, now that we got Clemson out of the way, North Carolina is the only game we need to worry about.
A lot of us content providers have tried to, and fans are going to be fans. I mean, even I am just a fan at this point when it comes to the University of Miami. But we've tried to really control that narrative that every single week is important, man. It's no way to continue to allow that type of mindset to creep in. We are no longer that team that every week it just didn't depend. The only team we had to ever worry about was Tallahassee. That's gone. And it's going to take a while to get that filtered out of our fan base. It's going to take a while because those same folks, Mark, will turn around if we do lose and say, fire everybody, bench everybody, just the extremists. And I think another thing, including myself, is once we saw how dynamic and explosive we could be against a rival team, we felt like we were finally firing and we were finally able to do it. And it just fell right on its face on national TV. It embarrassed the school, embarrassed the program, and it embarrassed the city. That was atrocious. But like I said, it's time to move on. It's gone. It's behind us. And Pittsburgh is a quality team that, for as long as we've been in the ACC, has always given us problems. So it's not like we're just going to line up and go 5 wide and make it into a track meet and beat them by 45 points. And if we do, hey, that's cool. But do I see that happening moving forward? No. They're going to show up. They're going to play good defense. Their defensive line, a couple of their defensive starters could play at Clemson. Okay, I think one of the defensive ends leads the country in sacks, if I believe. He's one of the better defensive ends, edge rushers in the country. Okay, so it's no way for us to start to feel like that. I even saw on Twitter some people were saying, this Pitt team lost to Boston College. Why should we be worried? And that's the problem. The fact that we continue to think that what happened last week has anything to do with the next week. Because if you look at the week before, you think, oh, yeah, Miami's going to show up and kick butt in this game. And you would think Virginia, the way Virginia played Clemson, that Clemson's in trouble. We all fell for that, me included. So the week before, 2 weeks before, has nothing to do with what's going to happen on that Saturday. You got to show up and have a great game plan for that 60 minutes.
Yeah, whether it be Pitt or Boston College, if we lined them up across the board, the entire roster, and had to run 40-yard dashes against Miami's roster, yeah, we could definitely see a difference. If we looked at the recruiting rankings, we can see a difference. But those teams make up for it in different ways, and they are quality teams. They're not great teams. They're like top 40-ish type teams, but they're certainly capable. Pitt lost to Boston College last week, 31-30, on a missed extra point in overtime. And yeah, Boston College is not great, But Boston College has a transfer quarterback from Notre Dame who is really good. He is really good, Phil Jerkovich. And, Boston College is a quality team with a good coaching staff. Pitt, the player you're referring to, Patrick Jones, 7 sacks. And Pitt's a team that's 3-2. They are that close to being 5-0. They lost on the extra point in overtime, and they lost the week before a heartbreaker against NC State on a last-second field goal, 30-27. So that's where they stand this season.